There is no earthly way of knowing. Good man is hard to find. Which direction we are going? Directly El Camino. It would have been DWI.
We have reached a tipping point.
All right, I'm Stephen Platinum. That's Larry Goodman, who has his camera pointed the way it's supposed to be. But we're going to bring in Chad right away. We're going to bring in Chad Skywalker right away because we were talking. We're going to bring him in, and here's why. We're guys that love wrestling, and WrestleMania just happened. And dude, we were having a great conversation. So Chad, you had a great point, I think, about the Gunther Jey Uso match. So please, kind of reiterate what you were saying because I thought it was brilliant.
It at least could have been a good wrestling match.
Yes.
If anything, it could have been a good wrestling match. The finish that they chose, that could have been like they could have worked that. They could have milked that, and the fact that he used his artillery against his own, like that was a good idea, but they just didn't use that weapon like properly. It was just poor plan. It wasn't thorough. I'm not gonna say poor. I apologize.
I just thought of either the best or the worst analogy for Jey Uso of all time. Are you ready? Are you guys ready?
Yeah, we're here.
I'm ready.
Okay. So Jey Uso apparently gets great live reactions. They always talk about that, right? No, Jey Uso's ready. Jey Uso's this. Jey Uso's that. Jey Uso also had one of the worst WrestleMania matches of all time with his brother, right? That thing stunk on ice, right?
Oh, you mean the super kick challenge?
Oh my God. And then this year he was kind of like expectations were still high. Jey Uso is the Kamala Harris of wrestling. When Kamala Harris had to go through a primary, nobody wanted her. She was fourth. Right?
Ooh.
This time around, Biden drops out, and so suddenly she's the person. Now, at every appearance that she makes in front of friendlies, they go nuts for her. They went so nuts for her, they had the entire country convinced she was going to win this thing in a landslide. But then something really funny happened. Nobody showed up for her. And I think when push comes to shove, nobody shows up for Jey Uso in the way that it counts the most. And maybe it's because they suspect on some level he doesn't have it. And that's a really harsh indictment, and I'm sure people will want to argue with me all day. And I think people love the idea of Jey Uso main eventer more than they love it in practice. And that's just current comparison is Kamala Harris to Jey Uso, which is incredibly brutal.
I'm gonna repeat that to somebody that I talk to, right? I don't really have too many wrestling discussions with a lot of people because I don't always like it with people. But it's my partner, man. It's the rookie of the year. Me and him, a lot of times we disagree with some things in pro wrestling, and our experience is a gap too. But I like going back and forth with him. I'm gonna say what you said, the Kamala Harris, because I don't think I disagree with that. I don't think I can disagree with that.
I have seen more people that I know through wrestling argue incredibly hard that they thought this WrestleMania was one of the greatest of all time.
Oh, come on.
I have seen more people try to defend the whole Cena thing as hard as you possibly. Oh, you guys just didn't understand. Cena said he was going to ruin wrestling, and that's exactly what he did. Do you think, in your ever-loving mind, their intent was to throw away the emotional impact of the main event of WrestleMania for the sake of, well, isn't this clever? We're just going to completely do an emotionless void, so now we can build it up from here. And see the pump that Randy Orton got when he gave him that, like.
So look. This is what I think. I think it could have been some match swaps between night 1 and night 2. I definitely think the main event of night 1, the main event of night 1 definitely had enough emotion to be in night 2. But understanding the story and Cody Rhodes and the final boss, by default they're gonna make that night 2. But the delivery was night 1. Like, let's be real. So, but like within a few matches, like there were like a few matches should have been some match swaps between night 1 and night 2. I think who was the women's match for night 1? Who was the women's match for night 1?
Was it Tiff and
whoever it was.
Tiff and Charlotte, right?
It's Tiffany and Charlotte.
Yeah. Honestly, I would have taken that and swapped that with the women's tag from night 2. I would have put the women's tag on night 1, honestly. Yeah. I like the whole the Becky Lynch coming back. You know, that was it touched some people emotionally with that. That was cool. No one expected that. You know what I mean? That would have been a nice little introduction going into, you know, the whole WrestleMania with night 1. I would have replaced that. I would have also, I don't know, man. Wherever the heavyweight championship match were to be, it could have just been a good match. I feel like they shouldn't have rushed that. I feel like
WrestleMania. This WrestleMania highlighted.
Jey Uso, he at least could have did some more ring practice. He could have done some training and upgraded like his repertoire. Like, you got the entertainment, you can entertain. You got the yeet, you got all of that support system. At least surprise us. Give us something that we would not expect him to be able to like wrestle. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you're leading up to something like that, he had plenty of time. I know he's on the road, but some time could have been found to put on a dope masterpiece with Gunther. Come on, because in real life he can't keep up with Gunther. We know that. You know what I mean?
I mean, present it beforehand. Like, you know, I know people are disappointed in me. You know, I know people are underwhelmed by me, but I'm going to do something that's never been done before. I'm going to tap Gunther out. And I mean, even setting that up as a story is a million times better. And then showing Jey Uso leading up to the match, taking on this sort of savage aspect, and he's tapping dudes out and showing some skills. And it's not hard to teach guys how to roll around on the mat. It really isn't that hard to teach.
Really, like it really is.
And it would have been so like this WrestleMania showed the power. The stories that were built well paid off in a great match. The stories that were not built well paid off in a lackluster match. And I would argue that Cena and Cody is the biggest waste of a heel turn in wrestling history. The way they could have built Cena Cody could have blown your mind. And nothing after the original turn blew your mind. The Cena promo was okay, but it wasn't great. You know, the obvious angle to me was, Cody, you've needed everybody's help your whole life. You rode around on your daddy's name. You rode around on a bunch of friends starting another league. You rode around as Randy Orton's sidekick. You rode around. You couldn't even win your match without me. If it wasn't for me, and the Undertaker showing up, you wouldn't even be the champion. Because when you had to do it on your own, you couldn't get it done. But I'm John Cena. That's my real name. That's my name. Right? Mr. Runnels. My name is John Cena. And nobody ever helped me do shit. Right? So, yeah, if I want to take some advice from The Rock, I'm going to do it. But guess what? When I come to WrestleMania, I'm winning the title. I'm winning the title for the 17th damn time. Right? I'm doing this. My daddy didn't wrestle. My friends never got me anywhere else. And guess what? I never betrayed the WWE to go anywhere else, unlike you. So the fans can boo me all they want. Wonderful. But they can't stop me anymore. Nobody can stop me. Not your family name. Not who the... You think the WWE wants me to win? They don't. They want me to go back to Hollywood. They want me to leave this alone, but I'm not going to leave it alone. They can't stop me now. Nobody can stop me. I mean, that's a much more compelling story than I'm bad now, and now I'm not going to give you anything that you want. There's a way to deny fans as a heel that is entertaining, at least, or compelling to watch. This argument that Huckabee and my friend Mike Roper are making, that it's like, it's exactly what they want. They didn't want people to go, this is kind of fucking lame.
So I got a question.
Yeah.
Did we forget that he was fighting for his soul? Like,
yeah.
Was that like thrown out of the? Because that was like multi-layered for one, and it's like I just feel like it didn't feel that important anymore, and I feel like if John Cena has this one last run as a heel, it has to be a dope run. It has to be worth it. If not, let Cody keep the title. Let him let's be creative with his story or whatever the hell. But I just if you ask me, I forgot. I was listening. I was active listening to you. I forgot, honestly. But there were some placements, and there were some lacklusters, and the women's match, 2 of the women's matches, were better than the male you would expect to actually tear the house down.
The women's matches were extreme to me because I don't know why they keep putting Jade Cargill out here in these matches for that long. Why not just let her fucking crush people?
She ain't keeping up out here? Why you say that?
Mind blowing. Every time Jade Cargill hits the 6-minute mark in a match, the shit looks choreographed as hell. I was so mad at that match that I was demonstrating as we were watching the match at my job. I was just like, Jade sells by getting to her spot. She doesn't perform because nobody is interested in that part of her. They've got her so in her head about make sure you don't mess up your spots. So, for example, they had a spot where Naomi she hit Jade and then she went up on the ropes. And Jade literally stared at her the whole time, walked forward 3 steps so she could catch her off of the crossbar. It looked as choreographed as fuck. And I'm like, this is what you're supposed to do. So I made one of the guys pretend to hit me and then go climb up on that chair. So he hit me and I stumbled around and boom, boom, boom. And I go, you jump when you think you're supposed to jump. And as soon as I turned to face him, he jumped. And I'm like, wrestling 101. But Jade doesn't do any of it because they don't trust her. And I don't like it. And
but it's I think if Jade hit the Cody Rhodes route where she goes to all the top indie circuits and get that experience in, I think that'll speed up her growth in that. Otherwise, she'll eventually grow in that. You know what I mean? But saying that is, she has kind of been can I say it's kind of given to her. It kind of came to her easier than
Sure.
She didn't have to take the long route. So some stuff, it's some techniques she's gonna be slow to. And it's funny that you say that because I honestly wasn't noticing that. I wasn't noticing that. I wasn't paying attention to that.
So Chad,
I think Bel Air.
To weave this into you, Chad. So you trained at WWA 4, is that correct?
Oh yeah. That's why I broke the ice.
That's
why I lost my virginity.
What's something you feel like they did a great job teaching you, and what's something that you feel like you had to learn once you started wrestling, or you had to learn somewhere else? Because I always find this question fascinating. We don't ask it enough.
So, because when I started, Curtis Hughes was the head trainer, right?
Right.
But you had A.R. Fox, Jonathan Gresham, Apollo Crews, all in one. They were like, the pillars. Like, so I had that too, surrounding and training. So, like, one thing that was strong was the craft of pro wrestling, the psychology of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
It was at a point where, if you ask me, like, it was one of the best in Georgia when it comes to that. I think at that time, from that I had to learn. I had to go to other places to catch grasp of how to bring consciousness to my character.
Ooh.
How to find my character. I ain't never been like the one to. I don't know where other people pull from for the most part, but just me creating a character, I wasn't good at that. I was more so. I was eclectic anyway in myself, so I had to like pull from an aspect of myself to make a character, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, no, it does make sense. Because when I used to see you years ago, I thought, well,
yeah,
I thought Chad Skywalker can do some cool stuff, but I don't really know who he is. He does cool stuff, but I don't know who his character is. I don't get that about him. Now I do, but when I first saw you years ago, that didn't really come through.
Yeah.
No, I had to, and it's funny. I would find myself like from wrestling matches. Like some people, you got some people who come in already knowing characters. I had to like have my matches to find myself, to understand. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of other people are like that. They just hadn't recognized that, that way of motion about themselves. But so that's one thing that I had to learn as I go, away from A4, and this is just me. Another thing is politics and
oh my God, yes,
the business. I definitely had to like just go about my own way. I really had to step outside of pro wrestling to understand more of basically what politics was. Honestly,
right.
I took a hiatus. Yeah, I took a hiatus, and some stuff I just had to see elsewhere. And yeah.
I think there's a very good reason that a lot of guys who became megastars, it happened after an injury. I think there's a reason that occurs, and the main reason that occurs is you have to come at it from a different angle, and sometimes an injury forces you to do that. Whether it's like The Rock or Stone Cold, or even like I tell this story all the time. Davey Richards didn't figure out who Davey Richards was until he blew his knee out, and then I mean, I'm going to toot my own horn here. He said the first thing he did was like we started texting back and forth, and I said, bro, like, what do you like to watch? And he goes like, and he started naming all these Japanese guys. And I go, then why the fuck don't you wrestle like that? And then I was like, I know you hate the idea of a gimmick. And I go, but how do you view wrestling matches? He goes like, I feel like I got these wrestling guys in my sights. And I'm like, the idea of being like a hunter is a very interesting one. It's much more interesting than dude in tights. you know?
Yeah.
And I wanted to hate Davey Richards. I did. I remember getting that Dragon's Gate pay-per-view, and I had trainees over. We're going to watch Davey fuck up on a pay-per-view. This is going to be great. And instead, something horrible happened. He was wonderful. I remember the finish, which was he hit a shooting star press, which is a running joke between me and him, but he hit the shooting star press. The 1, 2, the guy lifted his arm to get out of the pin, and he used it and flowed into a submission hold, and the guy tapped out. And I went, fuck. God, that was a great finish. Because it fit with the story of the match, which was Davey was gonna turn anytime the guy countered something, Davey recountered it in a completely oddball way. And it was, I've never seen that finish before in a wrestling match at that point. This idea of, okay, if I can't pin you, I can tap you out. And I thought, like, God, it was good. And I called him up, and that's how we made amends. And he did the first PCW show at the Masquerade just because we talked on the phone after the Dragon's Gate match. And he's like, I want to come down and wrestle. Who's good? And I'm like, Shane Marks is unbelievable. He's like, great, I'll come over there and put him over. And that's exactly what he did. And I don't know.
Wait a minute. Wait. Hold up.
Yeah.
Can I use profanity? Is that okay?
Yes.
Your heart's content.
Platinum? Steven effing Platinum? Is that you?
That's me.
All this time? You know, when I came in, I wasn't allowed to come to PCW. We don't got to go into that story, whatever.
Right.
But we come a long way. Thank God. You know. Thank God. We come a long way. I believe in unity. I believe if there's going to be division, we should milk the division. We should milk that. You know, hell, WWE and AEW, we don't know if they really hate each other or not. We know they take shots and they trade off. You know what I mean? Point blank. And for us to have so many local fans and hidden fans that we don't know about, and to only want to keep a certain section to ourselves is dumb. Like,
that's weird, man. I agree. It's weird.
We should create pipelines. Because there are people who lived on one side of town that I'm seeing all the way in Franklin County, and I'm like, damn, like, you stay out here, you stay over there, but they're into it. They're into it. So I am glad that we've come a long way.
It's wild, man. Well, and you've, Larry, can I ask you a question? So,
sure.
What's the number one thing that you've seen with Chad that you would call a clear progression? He's clearly like moving up. What's, because you've seen him at different points of his career. What's the biggest progression you've seen in Chad?
What we've already touched on really is the development of a solid, consistent character that gets across in his matches and in his promos consistently, so that I now know who he is and what he's about, which before was a little bit murky to me. I also think his ring psychology.
Yeah.
Ring psychology is tons better also.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, kind of like what you asked, Davey, like, everyone loves action movies, whether that's like a superhero or a secret agent or a double. Like, in a sense, they're kind of superheroes too. They're kind of made out to be like a superhero just by their luck. You know, and like, we know what pro wrestling is. It's multifaceted. It's, you know, when it comes to like marketing, when it comes to like creativity, it's no different than any other entertainment like field for the most part. And what we're doing on stage is that we're doing what they do on movie sets, except we're actually doing it. We're actually not relying on camera specialties to make it look like we're making contact. We're doing that. So Gresham told me this one time. He said there's a difference between wrestling like the indies, or wrestling like the industry, and wrestling like yourself. You know, once people look at you and know like when you have your own way of doing it, you stand out from the rest of them who just get golf claps. You know what I mean? And then you'll get genuine claps because pops because what you are bringing your essence to it. So I had to think about who I am. I had to think about I was always the type of person and kid that would just hear things and just get the scoop and just overhear and just find out and just keep my mouth shut and just wonder if people are playing with me because they're saying stuff around me that should be kayfabe. And I always like, I just, or I've been asleep and just overheard people's conversations. So, you know, right there, it's like detective work. You know what I mean? That's like spy work. Um, so it's like every action movie you watch, it's like maybe a Batman, because that's sort of like an inspiration as well. And yeah, you know, I love Jackie Chan. I love me some Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Green Hornet was awesome. Uh, and the long and this is going to be kind of left field, but the Lone Ranger. So what I'm doing right now, what I'm in process of right now is solidifying the formula to my matches, to my set stories, to move because I can. We all know I can do a whole lot of cool flippy stuff. It's kind of where Skywalker came from. But see now, the sky is like a metaphor. Skywalker is a metaphor now, and I am, yeah, yeah. Like I'm accumulating, I'm formulating like the presentation to explaining that verbally. You know, so but that's what it is. Skywalker is a metaphor. Yeah.
So how did the how did the man on the mission thing come about? Did you pitch that to CW and PCW? Did they pitch that to you? How did that develop?
Well, honestly, I feel that everyone has priorities in life, for one, on the simplest scale. Every day when we wake up, we have priorities. That's work, that's taking care of family, that's training, that's take care of your business. We're all entrepreneurs in this craft, you know. And everyone has their purpose for doing so. Everyone has their mission. You know what I mean? To be fulfilled. And every time we come at the end of a segment, the mission continues because, Lord willing, there's tomorrow, always. So, you know, that just naturally, you know, when you wake up, you get your routine and you get it going. Nothing's going to stop you. You're focused. I just so happen to be able to be this athletic and fit the description of an action movie. You know, and I just feel like that makes sense. That's easily grasped. Being so familiar with the movies that we've watched growing up until today. And so, yeah, the mission will always continue.
Where can people see you right now, man? Like where are you popping up on the regular? Where are you gonna be?
So right
people
now,
gotta see Chad. You gotta see Chad Skywalker, y'all. You gotta see him. You gotta see him.
Please. So PCW, of course. You know, I've transitioned from, you know, I've transitioned from my A4 chapter to my Nightmare chapter. Now I'm in my PCW chapter when it comes to just being in Georgia. Viral pro wrestling sometimes. It's crazy. I can't even remember my own shows. I can't even remember my own shows. I'm so sorry. IWE when they come back.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I can't even
Will
remember
you
my own
be at
shows.
Coastal Saturday?
I will be at Coastal. That's the main squeeze right now. I apologize that. Yeah. Yeah. I love
the main
squeeze.
Hint.
Nice.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. The mission always continues. A lot going on. But no, Coastal is actually this Saturday on the 26th. That is a main squeeze of mine, along with PCW. I have been attending Five Star Pro Wrestling outside of Georgia, and I'm putting my sights on, and I'm taking advantage of the open door opportunity that I have for reality of wrestling in Texas. So we're aligning those dates. so that I can make my way out there more regularly. Because we know the hometown only loves you when you go far. So I got to give him an opportunity to want me back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, when are we going to find out what's on that? When do we find out what's on that VHS tape?
Let me just milk it a
what?
little bit longer. Let me just let me just milk it a little bit longer because I'm having my way with that one, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
That's how you build a story. Now I want to see this VHS tape more than I want to watch WrestleMania. What's going on?
Yeah.
Good story.
Well, hopefully it'll be more eventful than night 2.
Oh, oh no.
And one thing I love about Coastal, is that they're limitless. Like they are limitless. Like when it comes to creativity, a lot of people may have a barrier and may not see the vision. It's like with Coastal, with Zach is who I talk to the most. With Bryce, you know what I'm saying, him as well. But with Zach, like
smart guys, man.
It's not hard for him to see it. You know what I mean? Like, and they're not afraid to go outside the box. And so I am glad to be like blessed to do work with Coastal because I am actually unraveling layers about myself that I need. So
that's what this shit's all about. Yes.
It looked like you're really feeling it in that interrogation scene.
I thought about being a cop like 2 years ago, and I still might have that as a side, because I got some friends that are the cool cops, the cool ones. But I went to military school.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I got 2 brothers, right? One of them, he went deep in the military. He was that, he's like, forgive me, I don't remember my proper rankings, but and I got another brother who is actually, we'll say he's a self-made entrepreneur, big time, right? And I'm like in the middle of those 2. And so like from military school and then from graduating and like finding my way outside in the world, I'm like finding my path down the middle now, like my own. And so like what you see in the man is kind of like the experience from both worlds, from the structured world of military and the unstructured world of being outside, aka some might say in the street life, but I don't veer too far in that direction as well. So being between both worlds, I see what's right and what's wrong. You know what I mean? No matter whose side I'm on, I'm going to call out what's right and what's wrong. When I stand in the middle, I can look at both sides and see where they're right and where they're wrong. So like, I think that's what I've learned to tap into. That's the mentality I've learned to tap into with Coastal, and I am pushing that I'm pushing that.
I love it, man. Well, Chad, thank you so much for being on. We got to have this man back again. We got to have him back again. I love it.
I'd appreciate that. I am on the move right now. I just hit 4%. I'm on my way to Mississippi, and to come right back tomorrow. So it's on the move. Mission continues.
Making it happen, Captain.
Hey man,
thanks for doing the show, man.
Oh no, thank you. No, I know I love to come back. I appreciate this very much. I like this.
You got it, man.
Yeah, man. And Larry, we've known each other came across a long time, but we've never actually like had a conversation. And I realized that the last time I spoke to you, so I kind of forced it. I forced it just so I had to break some ice. You know what I mean? It was at the award show, and I realized, like, dang, like honestly, you've been around. Like I was growing up, and you were just around, and we've never had. Dude, I was 18.
I know. I feel the same way. It's kind of crazy. We've been at all these shows. We never really had a conversation until that award show. I know it's weird.
It is. I was 18, bro, when I started, started in the ring, I think I was 18, 17, 18. Yeah. And so like to come this far, and then you realize like, damn, I see the family. I see the family perspective. That's what's going on here. So yeah, I apologize. I had to learn people skills as well, man.
Well, I love it, man.
Well, again, thanks for doing the show, man. Safe travels.
Thank you, man. Yes, sir.
All right. Great to talk to Chad, but Larry, we got someone on deck. She's a favorite here on this show. One of my favorite people to watch. Can you please give her the proper introduction? Oh my gosh, there she is. Hello.
She's with us. Thank you, Shaloncé.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
How are you doing, first of all? Because I know you've been kind of through it the last couple of weeks. What's going on? You doing all right?
It's been rough. It's been rough. I thought the initial injury was like annoying, but I guess I learned to live with it. And now it's like every day I'm like, why did I get this surgery? Why did I do it?
Oof.
Yeah.
So do you want to just go into it briefly? What exactly is the surgery? Like, what's going on?
I can tell you exactly how it happened, what went on, what's going on. So some people know that I was wrestling regularly for OVW, and for a while, you know, I was out of the cycle. And so OVW had this big pay-per-view in Pikeville, and I was making kind of like a return after kind of being gone for a while. Because again, you know how it goes with the roster. You're up on the roster, you're down on the roster. And I was on like the down of the roster, and I was getting ready to come back up. So I had new gear. I had like new things I wanted to do. I was ready. I used that time to chill and to know what I want to do when I got back. And then I went to the pay-per-view, was in a women's tag match, and I happened to do the most, and that's what got me. So I was taking a clothesline. I take them all the time, and I decided I wanted to do an inside out like flip bump. I've done it a few times. I know how to do it, but this one in particular, I didn't get outside. I just stayed inside and landed directly on my shoulder.
Oof.
So come to find out, you know, they did treat me there. I ended up going home. I actually drove back to Georgia that night. That was Pikeville, Kentucky. I drove back to Georgia, pain, all that. I went to go get it checked out. They said that my trap was really aggravated, but my bones were okay. But I needed to see a specialist because obviously something's wrong. So I actually didn't wrestle that following week, but I wrestled the week after against J-Rod on a busted shoulder. And we were playing up the whole injury angle because it just so happened that pay-per-view night, Doug Basham ended up throwing me into the cage ring. So we kind of used that. Yeah, we kind of used that as like an angle. And I didn't realize at the time that I was wrestling on a busted, torn labrum. My bicep was not attached anymore. I had an AC sprain, and apparently the bicep was fraying, which probably was because prior to that, I was working out. I was doing like heavy weights and stuff. So they said that's kind of like common to kind of see with like weightlifters or people who do a lot of sports that involve the upper body. So I don't know what I did. I don't know what was happening, but they had to go in and reattach my bicep. No, reattach my labrum. And they said it was torn from like 8 p.m. to 2 p.m. Like if you're looking at a clock, the top part of it, that was torn. And the bicep had to be cut because you can't keep the fray part, and reattached. And they went in and did something else. But essentially, that's what they fixed. And that is what I'll be nursing. So they said the recovery time at max is usually 6 months. They said people usually start feeling a little better around the 3rd month. And then there's just PT to make sure that there's no stiffness and whatnot. And it also depends on your age and what you're going back to do. So for regular everyday life, I'm probably going to be okay for the 3rd month stretch. But for wrestling, I'm not quite sure when it's going to be. But in my brain, I feel like I want to go back and get revenge at OVW in August, which just so happens to be the month that I got injured. So I would have been away for an entire year.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Shaloncé, I always love when you're talking to us because you always have such a insight in what's going on. I actually have a request, or it's a question. So I've been doing this thing where I've been teaching people how to book, but a couple of people have basically paid for my time for other reasons. One, to help them with their wrestling thing, and another is like a young woman here in Florida who's like a pro wrestler. She's just started, but she just basically wants like career advice and training. Now I don't train her in the physical stuff for the most part. Though we did get together. A friend of mine said I could use their wrestling ring, so I told her to meet me there. And then she didn't know that I'm a psychopath, right? She didn't know that. So we got there and I told her I had a TV set up. And I was like, have you ever watched Hoosiers? And she didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, right?
She's a
and I said,
youngin'.
we're going to watch this scene from Hoosiers. And it's the scene where Gene Hackman had just died, so he was on my mind.
Oh,
and it's the scene where Gene Hackman first meets with this basketball team that he's going to coach. And they keep saying things like, there's no basketballs here. And he's just like, yeah, no, like, I know you guys can shoot, but there's a lot more to the game than shooting. So he basically runs them through these practices where they don't have a ball. And so she's looking at me and she goes, okay. And I go, we're not going to step into that wrestling ring. And she looked at me like I was a crazy person, right? And I said, we're going to sit down and we're just going to talk about wrestling until I feel that you understand it enough that doing physical stuff in that ring is supplementing what you already know, instead of this ring and the fake fighting in your underwear part being the only thing that you know. Because if that's all you know, you're kind of doomed. And I have no interest in teaching you how to do a better head scissors. I don't care about that. Because she's gorgeous. She's 21. She just turned 21. She's total Betty, right? And what I'm afraid of is, as soon as she starts doing shows, they're just gonna put her in the meat grinder. So the thing I wanted to ask you, Shaloncé, it's actually more of a request. If I get her to the point where I think she can actually benefit from the knowledge, and if I paid you something, could you just talk to her, just relay experiences that you had on the road of being a woman on the indies and being disappointed with how you were booked? I mean, you and I have had all these conversations, right? But I don't know anybody, any woman who I would say dealt with all of these things as well or better than you. I like, when we were talking leading up to the NWA women's title match, I saw Camille in that movie, in that Queen of the Ring movie. And I thought to myself, like, that's kind of wild that, like, here she is in this, like, major motion picture. It's showing in theaters, and it's this kind of big deal. But I still didn't feel like Camille is completely comfortable performing even now. Whereas the last 2 or 3 times that I've seen you live, I went, I know very few people who are as comfortable putting themselves out there in the wrestling game. Because nowadays I feel like people are way too inhibited.
Yes.
They're way too afraid to look bad. So they end up not looking like anything. That's my number one gripe with most of pro wrestling, is I don't feel it. And as much as people make fun of like the 40 milers, right? I hate that term. People make fun of, oh, these dipshits who just wrestle in these little shows and they never leave their hometown. Most of them, though, when they perform, boy, they go for
They got it.
If they're working a gimmick, they are working that gimmick to the T, right? Because in their mind, where they're wrestling, it's the biggest thing they're ever going to do. And so they've completely lost their inhibitions. Whereas most of the people, and this is what I hate about a lot of the booking too, I feel like people are playing not to lose instead of to win. And you're somebody who I always thought like, God, I mean, yeah, you take disappointments really hard, but it's because you're putting yourself out there. You never act too cool for school. And everything you've gotten, you've deserved. And I don't know. I just wanted to get your viewpoint because you're sitting out with this injury right now. And like I was telling Skywalker, when people come back from injury, that's when stars make the transition to the next level. That's when those who are truly great have kind of found whatever it is in that time away from actually wrestling. They come back and that's when they've seemed to put it all together. Do you feel like that's something that can happen for you?
Oh, of course. Yes, because you spend a lot of time in your head. Like when I was on the go, and you guys know I was on the road. It didn't matter how far I had to go, I would go. And I think there's always this thought of fearing being forgotten or left behind, or someone's going to do something that you're going to do. And so you put your body through things. Like a lot of wrestlers on the indies right now actually need to sit down. Some of them are busted and got injuries that they're going to pay for later, but they don't want to because they feel like the very things I just said, they feel like they're going to be forgotten, or they're not going to get booked, or they feel like any day now something can break through. But then when you're forced to sit down, you're forced to take a step back and look and realize, like, first of all, the industry is still going. Yes, it's painful. Like for me, especially in the beginning, it was painful to even watch wrestling, to even hear about wrestling. I didn't want to. It hurt because I didn't want to hear about someone doing a move that I wanted to do, or someone's getting booked somewhere where I wanted to be, or someone getting the opportunities that if I had been there, maybe it would have been me. Like I was really bitter at first. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But I sat back and just thought about like gimmicks and moves, and I was reading certain comments and digesting things that people have said, things that you guys have said, and looked at my finances and just looked at life. And I'm like, sometimes I was just taking this too seriously and not serious in the right areas. I do pride myself on really being true to myself, not fearing what I look like and what happens. But sometimes that seriousness was just in the wrong areas. So I would leave a show and I'm pissed off and I'm hurt, and then I can't sleep, and then something happens. I don't want to get booked someplace, or I don't want to talk to this person. And people can see when you're carrying that on your shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, and while I know people knew like what I was saying was like true, sometimes how the message is coded will make people not want to listen. And at one point, it was coded, like I'm sure people can tell it was in this day and age, everyone is like love and light or positivity and living this and living that. They don't want to hear the nitty-gritty truth, or they don't want to look deeper. So oftentimes I wasn't listened to, and I understand why. So I've had time to think, and I'm just like, oh, maybe you could just transfer this here, and you can wear this, and you can do that, and then you can only wrestle here, and then you can go here, and then maybe you can negotiate this. And because it was so stressful to the point where finances was always a thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't ever get out of the red. So when I took a booking that felt like less than what I feel like I should be paid, I couldn't enjoy myself. When I realized the miles and tried to do all the math, I couldn't enjoy myself because I'm like, I'm going to go under. And then seeing young people not care as much as I did, who really get to me. or people worrying about things where I'm like, must be nice to have that worry, you know. So everything was being filtered through a negative lens, negative filter at one point. Wasn't always like that, but it was getting there. So when I originally had that little hiatus from OVW, I was really like upset. This was before I got injured. I was upset because I'm like, how in the world can you just put me basically at the bottom of the roster? I didn't have a clean completion of my.
We had those conversations. I remember. Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I would drive every week, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours to go there. I never complained. Even when I busted my hip, I was still there. So I would always make that joke that I carried the women's division on my busted hip. I would do anything, you know? And now I'm at the bottom and they're not booking me and not calling me. I had all these things, all these theories. And then I sat back and one thing that Alice said finally stuck in my head. He said, he didn't say this directly to me as in saying that that's what he was doing to me, but he was saying it, or maybe he was and I wasn't picking it up, but he was saying it like back in the territory days, you know, someone would like wrestle at a place for a while, be a champion or whatever. And he's like, where do they go from there? So they'll go to another promotion. That's why he doesn't understand why some promoters are like upset about someone wrestling somewhere else when they're not being used as much, because it's like they would go around and you're the champion here, whatever, you go wrestle somewhere there. But he was saying when you return, like, how can they miss you if you're not gone? He knows that Shaloncé will do what he tells her to do. He knows that Shaloncé will go out there and make someone look like $1 million. He knows that I'll sit there and listen and try to do whatever I need to and soak up the knowledge. He knows that. And my locker room knows that. And my peers know that. They know that. But I was a great heel. I did what I needed to do. There's other girls that need the practice or the time or whatever to be established. And right now, that wasn't it. But I didn't fully accept that until I got injured. Until I hurt my shoulder. And then I'm realizing, and the comeback will even be greater. There's even more for storyline. And I can go and do the changing behind the scenes opposed to trying to change while you're working, because that's very hard.
Right.
That is so hard. And I tried to do that. Even with the talk show and iPad, I tried to figure out, like, how can I change up the promos or change up the look or do this and do that? But then one place is booking you because of what they know you to do, or you're tired, so you default into things you know to do and you don't implement the new things. So with all that being said, I totally understand why people come back and they become like the true superstar or the next evolution of themselves, no matter where they're trying to go, because they had time to sit and realize that the world keeps going, but yours didn't end. So what do you do? And now I have a choice. Do I want to get myself together to make a comeback? Do I want to take another break? Do I want to put my boots in the ring? I have all that time. But if you would have had that conversation with me back in July of last year about maybe you should take this time to really think, I'm like, no, why would I think about it? I'm going to wrestle. Right. So yeah, I do think that injuries force you to sit down. And that's why I try to tell the young people or the new people in the business, love yourself enough and care about your business enough to take those breaks when you need to, because one, you're not getting a new body. You can get all the surgery you want, but that adds up. And two, everybody needs to recalibrate, and the world is going to keep. And that's the best ideas, the best outlooks come from just taking a moment to pause, not stop, but to pause.
Yeah. You know,
Shaloncé, could I ask you about Georgia for a second?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you did that story with Rose at RIPW, and I guess you got hurt right after that? Is that what happened when you were doing the story with her?
I did. I got hurt in August of last year. So it was
And
kind
I
of
know
like
in recent years, you haven't done that much in Georgia. Is that not being given the opportunities, or what is that you really have not been seen that much around Georgia in recent years, as far as in the ring?
I felt like just not opportunities. You know, a lot of these promoters, they know who I am, they know where I am, they know I'll do the work, but I don't hear anything from them. So when I debuted at RIPW, I had made it up in my mind, like, I'm just gonna start showing up to shows and doing whatever, because it's like, it's my home state. Like, I want to know what it's like to drive less than an hour to get somewhere, or less than 2 hours to get somewhere, and I know that I can do it. But I really just think that it was either, I'm wondering either if promoters assumed that my fee would be high, or if they assumed that the crowd wouldn't like me. I know I wondered about one place in particular, about bad blood due to like an ex. I don't know, but I had planned to change that, and then I got injured, because I was gonna just go up to promoters and ask, like, are you under the impression that I live in Kentucky? Because some people thought that, so they were like, why would we reach out and have her come down here and pay even travel and all that? But I want to know, like, what is it? Do you think I don't look it, or whatever? Because I was always in my head thinking about it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to ask them to their face.
I think that's a good idea. Like, it reminds me, this is going to blow Larry's mind and yours. It reminds me of Freddie Blassie. So I would always tell wrestling students, they're like, well, you read a lot of books. What's the number one book you would have me read? And I go, for wrestlers that are currently active, I go, Fred Blassie. And that always blows them away. Why fucking Fred Blassie, right? His is one of the best wrestling books out there, because he just walks you through, like, day one getting into wrestling to, a year before he died. You get the whole span of his life in wrestling. He spent a lot of time never being really booked on top. And I mean, he was like, he did a sailor gimmick for a long time, for goodness sakes, right? And he obviously had all this creativity in him that he never really got to show. But one day he's just sitting in the locker room of some podunk nothing show, and the main eventer goes down, like gets into a car wreck and can't be there. So now they have to basically it's not only they have to replace him for the night, we need a new main eventer, because we're a podunk show, right? We can't just go out and buy somebody from another territory, because they're all making money elsewhere, and we don't pay that good. So we have to take one of these guys sitting in the locker room, literally sitting in the locker room, and tonight we have to crown him a king. So the promoter looks around, and Fred Blassie's just kind of sitting there, and then he goes, you. Basically, he just literally, it's that easy. You're our new main eventer. Are you face or heel? And Fred Blassie goes like, I fucking hate these people. And they go like, heel it is. And he never looked back. And then years later, he asked that promoter, and this is after Blassie became a star, revolutionized the idea of a cage match, went to Japan. There were Americans that had made it in Japan, but there were never Americans that did what Fred Blassie did, where, like, they said, they call you the vampire because he used to bite guys. Are you really a vampire? And he took out a nail file and started filing his teeth next to the microphone. Dude, he's a star, right? And that promoter, like he asked that promoter, like, why did you point at me and say you? And he goes, you had something that the other guys didn't have. And he thought that he saw how special. He just said, I saw arrogance. I saw a guy that knew he was supposed to be huge, but everybody was too dumb to fucking see it. And I knew that guy could become a star. And Shaloncé, I'm not saying that to insult you. I'm just saying that's you. I think you know what you're capable of doing, what you're capable of drawing. And you've gotten the reputation. What you're describing is the good hand. And unfortunately, like in all aspects of all entertainment business, being the good hand sucks. And nowadays in wrestling, we think you're supposed to be the good. Like, that's what all these idiots preach, and it drives me crazy, right? Like Scott Hensley and all of them. They all want compliance.
Yes.
Right? They all want compliance. Just do what we ask. Just do the miles and show up and help with the ring and earn your spot. And eventually they just... what aspect of life does that ever fucking work? It never works that way.
It never works that way.
These this restaurant shit, these assholes love me because I say fuck you. That's why they love me. It's like, if I got 3 other fucking jobs besides this one, I'll drop you in a heartbeat and I'll go work for somebody else that'll pay me more.
Mm-hmm.
And they either say, they either give me a raise or they give me more responsibility, or they say, okay, let's see if you can do it. And I do it. Like, I don't give a fuck because it's my livelihood, and that's how I treat it.
And you're right. Like,
okay,
it's my
when
body.
I was in my first year and I didn't know shit, okay, but no. I played your game. You're hitting your numbers. I'm doing all the shit I'm supposed to do. Blah 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 blah. That's not enough. Like, I'm your go-to person. You're gonna treat me like your go-to person. You're gonna treat me like somebody. Shaloncé, I wish I was still working PCW. You wouldn't fucking know what to do. You'd be like, oh my God, he's having me do all this crazy shit. I would be having you film promos all the fucking time.
That's what I want to do.
But it's like,
that's what I want to do.
That's what promoters and bookers, just like you have fucking dreams. And what you want is a chance to have your potential realized.
Yes.
And the problem, Shaloncé, isn't you. The problem is people in Georgia who are in charge of shit don't have a fucking vision. There are 2 guys that have a vision in the entire fucking state. And everybody else is just faking it. They're so happy to do a show. They're so happy keeping their job that they're not doing their job. And their job is to inspire the wrestlers to want that top spot badly. And they don't know how to reward. They reward based on bullshit like loyalty and consistency, but not really. And it's been the story forever, right? They book their friends or they have their like I didn't PCW. There was no deserving the title. Fuck you. This person's going to have the title for an entire year and I'm going to throw everything at them. Right? All those people, and everybody would ask, well, maybe I could win the fuck you. I don't care how long you've been with me. I don't care. Like, to me, it's whoever's the most over and whoever I could build a story around. But I'll do an angle with you that is going to be the best fucking thing you've ever done in wrestling. That was the promise. And I think I try to live up to that. And the guys don't get excited enough. Like, they should see a Shaloncé. Like, Pro Wrestling Action is a show that I love in Florida. I love it. But they used Shaloncé to get other women over. And that's okay if those women had the potential to do even more, but they didn't, right? I would be more like, all right, she's so good at being a heel. How can we push this to the nth degree? Like, you want to be challenged. And people are so afraid. They think what wrestlers want is to get to do their own bullshit, right? That's enough. They get their shit in. That'll make them happy. I wasn't about making people happy. I was about making people fucking feel, well, oh my God, like I've never been pushed like that. Like that's how I got everybody to work for PCW for free. Like, all these motherfuckers work for free because it was like, I can't promise you anything except for you'll be booked better here than anywhere else.
Yeah, you were challenging them.
You were challenging and gave us something.
Chip Day, you're not the 4th best guy in a 4-person group. I think you're my white meat baby face of the future. That's how I pitch these guys. You know, like I think you could be a fucking single star, and that's how I'm going to book you. Like Corey Hollis, you should be blowing us. You should be our fucking Kurt Angle, and I'm going to put you in there with Fred Yehi, and you guys just go fucking nuts and do the wrestling match of your dreams. I don't fucking care.
Right.
Because it's just fake fighting in your underwear, right? Like, the Shaloncé, what you need is promoters in Georgia to get their head out of their ass and go, oh my God, we have they all want women wrestlers, right? Oh God. I mean, they bring in these broads from Timbuk2 to come here and wrestle, and you have women here. Mm-hmm. And that's who should be your star, right? So
and maybe I'm dreaming, but I thought your work at RIPW was so good that that was going to be noticed, and that was going to be a springboard for you, that other promoters were going to see what you're doing. And I understand that couldn't happen because you got hurt. You couldn't have done it anyway. But the timing, I think, could not have been worse, because I think that would have happened from that point.
I think so too, because people were saying like, oh, well, if you're here, we can book you here. Like, I know someone said they had reached out to Southern Fry, but he never got back to me. And then Southern Honor, and then when AWE was coming back, like, we all know how that worked out. But I was, I think I was injured then though when they were coming back out though. But like, I was like, really, people are seeing that I will get their baby faces over. Shaloncé is here, and I was having fun. Like, I just want to have fun, and just that's why I was so bummed, because especially with RIPW and what they're doing now, because I want to use my injury as a freaking angle. I'm like, look, my shoulder's going to be effed up. You want me to come and be a part of this, have someone attack me, and then when I'm legit in this big old cast, they got me in this thing, this sling or whatever I have to wear around in public. I'm like, well, then it's real, and it's a good freaking angle. I really wanted to use it. I tried to do it at PCW, and technically I think it's trying to happen. I filmed, and that's another thing. Like, I literally take time out of my day to think about these things. And I filmed a scene where I got attacked by Deity when I was going out to my car. And that I had her slam my arm into the trunk, like push me into the trunk of the car as I'm trying to get out. She grabs the arm and like does that, and then I'm writhing in pain and crying. I send that to PCW. So it's just stuff like that. Like, and I'm pretty sure they're probably waiting for me to like write something and to send it or something like that. But I'm like, this stuff is like easy. It's like right there in your hands. And at PCW, I'm the general manager of the women's division. And I'm going to pin that on freaking Rose Gold setting me up so that way she can't freaking wrestle, or she's going to have to do something. So that way I'm still relevant. It's long-term storytelling, because you got to have a blowout. And when I return, there's only so much I can run.
If I'm booking Southern Fried or Southern Honor, this is what I do with you. I pay you your rate to come in, and imagine this. Just this is me doing what I do. Just coming up with an idea. Now I'm rolling, right? You come to the ring, no music, street clothes, that big ass brace on your arm, and you just go, a lot of you don't know who I am. I'm Shaloncé Royal. And then you kind of give a brief overview of your resume, right? I've wrestled here. You may have seen me on The Wrestlers. You may have, but I go like, none of that matters, because here's what's wrong with this. And then you just go over your injuries. You don't say how it happened necessarily. You just go, here are my injuries. They're very real. And the reality is I probably should stop pro wrestling. But the truth is I begged for this time to talk to you, because folks, I'm a mess. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And it's like, and I'm sure a lot of you are like, what business does this girl who I don't even know have of showing up at the biggest promotion in Georgia saying, I need your help? But that's where I'm at, is if I'm going to come back, I have to set my sights high. If I'm going to wrestle again, it's got to be worth it. We only got so many bumps in us before our career's done. And how could I never have wrestled here? I have to wrestle here. But honestly, I've been somebody who people didn't like, and I've had time to think about it, and I don't want to be that person anymore. And I'm not going to be able to do this without your help. So there's no guarantee that they're going to want me back. There's no guarantee that I'm going to be able to make it back. But I urge you, tell the people that matter at Southern Honor that you want Shaloncé here. And I will hear that from my house. And I will work. And I promise you, I'm going to come back and talk to you and let you know how I'm doing. This isn't about setting up some kind of angle. It's none of that. This is just me talking to you and being real. I want to be here and I need your help. And you come back month after month and you're getting a little better. Everybody's waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? Oh, there's this angle alert. She's going to get attacked by a heel, la, 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 but it never happens. Or maybe a heel tries to say, oh, poor Shaloncé, and then a baby face immediately shuts her the fuck up. Bam! Hits her. Crowd goes nuts. Now we've made a baby face. You're making people without doing anything.
Without doing anything.
Right? You love it, right? So far, you love it. Guess what? You come and you cut this promo. And because they're like, the baby face woman has an open challenge, right? And your music hits and you come out with that brace and the crowd's like, what the fuck is this? And you come in like, I don't mean to take this time. I'm sure that there's a very worthy woman waiting to accept this challenge, but can I please talk? And of course she's going to be like, of course. It's like, I know I owe you because you saved me more than once from these bitches trying to fucking hit me when I was hurt. But I got a surprise that I wanted to share with you and with everybody else. And you take that shoulder thing off and you fucking do your arm like this and you run the ropes and you nod your head and you're like, yeah, that crowd is going to cry. There's some people crying. Oh, this is so great. This is so great. And then the baby face is happy for you too. Oh, Shaloncé, when your first match is going to be, and you clothesline the fuck out of that bitch. You go, right now. And you kick the living shit out of her in the most violent, brutal way possible. You bloody her, and then you hit her with that fucking brace when the ref isn't looking, and you pin her. And you just go like, thanks, suckers. Thanks for your help getting me into Southern Honor.
Yes.
Oh, and thank you too, you dumb bitch. It's just like, oh, now I'm in the number one league, and I'm the number one girl. And I couldn't have done it without me. Oh.
Yes.
All it takes is a vision. Yes. And you have one for yourself. And I imagine by the time that you're recovered from your injury, by the time you show up in the OVW in August and whatnot, you're ready. But unless someone lets you cut Austin 316, unless somebody lets you go, okay, you're not Rocky Maivia anymore, until somebody goes, whatever, right? It's not going to work. And so this is me calling out to bookers and promoters. Did you like what I did? It took me 2 minutes.
It doesn't take much.
Do better. Do better than me if you fucking can. Yeah, chances are you can't, but try.
No, I love that. It's just nowadays bookers aren't. Everyone believes they can just tell someone, hey, I want you to face this person. But not everybody is a writer or a visionary, like you said. And they don't listen to us that know. Yeah. I'm literally a writer. I'm a project manager. I'm an executive administrator. Like, I know how to see and make all the stuff move. I just need the ability to cook. But I needed this time off to also see the other things, because I knew that I could do other things in wrestling. I knew I could announce. I actually know how to ref. I know how to do color commentary. Like QT made, like, I may have said this story before, but like when I went to All In, QT wasn't booked, but he and his wife took me when I did the national anthem. And he was in gorilla position when someone couldn't do something with the cameras or whatever. And QT knew how to do it, so he stepped in. And Cody was like, dude, you really came through. You really had my back. And like, that's how he was remembered. And probably why QT is where he is right now. Now, not taking away his hard work and everything, because QT is slept on. Like, he's really good. He's a slept on talent. But that was one of the things where it was like, he's a wrestler, but he didn't say, oh, I'm a wrestler, I can't do that. He's like, oh, you want me to do these? I'm going to do it. Like, and he is all about knowing how to do everything so that way you will always have a job. So yeah, of course, I'm a legit opera singer. I traveled, I performed, I teach and things like that. But I also understand that my body or like things like this just doesn't hold up. That's why I'm able to announce for the Now That's Wrestling show. And I was able to referee a few matches before my surgery. And I can jump on commentary and do good color commentary. And depending on where, I can do the play-by-play and all that jazz. I can valet. I can do all that. So, but for a while, I was just pinning myself as just a wrestler. And I'm like, you know what? All that can come in handy, especially when I come back. Because who knows? Special referee angle, commentary angle, announcer angle, all this stuff where you think Shaloncé is down and she pops up like, you know what? I decided I'm going to announce this show. Introducing first, like just wherever I want to be, I'm going to do.
I mean, Paige Blackman used to always sing the national anthem at the IWE shows. I would have loved it just once if she was in the middle of singing the national anthem, if you snuck up behind her and hit that bitch and fucking picked up the microphone and try to outsing her.
Yes.
I would, if one wrestling show actually surprised me once, I don't know what I would do. I would cream my shorts if they actually, oh my God, they actually made an angle out of the national anthem. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Of course not. Like, when you got someone who can do so many things great, it's one thing if you're a jack of all trades, but a master of none, but you do things incredibly well. I would again, it's promoters and bookers, I feel, looking at things as an opportunity instead of a burden. That's why I hate all these posts about, oh, all these people contact me. This is the proper way to contact. Fuck you. Your fucking $20 paying show. Oh, I need a professional resume and 3 links to fuck you. I took everybody in PCW. Are you willing to fucking get your ass kicked for a fucking paying audience? Wonderful. I'll figure you out. And yeah, sometimes I had people that were complete shit and I had to book them with smoke and mirrors. But if I had somebody who knew how to do shit and somebody who had a special talent, I was gonna exploit that shit all day.
And I tried to have people do it. I'm ready. Like, I'm here. I would even go to shows with my referee shirt just in case. Be prepared to sing the national anthem just in case. I always have like a dress just in case my opponent doesn't show, because you know how women booking is. So just in case I got to walk out with someone, because I'm going to get paid, or I'm going to at least do something, whether or not I'm getting paid for the booking or whatnot. I'm here. I traveled here. Let me do something, because you just never know.
I mean, that alone is worth, injured or not. I mean, that Matt Cardona seminar really changed how I thought about pro wrestling, because Cardona, he's just like, this is my schedule. I've never been booked this many times. And this is when he was hurt and not going to come back for 3 months. And he's like, I've never had more opportunities to make money. And he's like, and I'm getting my rate everywhere. There's only one place I don't charge my full rate, and that's GCW, because he knows that that's the biggest publicity he gets. But he goes, but beyond that, all these motherfuckers are paying me to come in and cut a promo. And it's because he had established himself so well as a guy who was able to do so many things. And I think all these places that need, I would just lock you in. If I'm a promoter, I'm just like, I'm locking Shaloncé in, and we'll find a way to use her. And like, there's a million ways to do it. And maybe that's what this ends up becoming. Maybe you come back and yes, you can wrestle, but there's people finding out the best way. Just like, oh my God, I need somebody to do this, or I want somebody to do this, or come in and do commentary for a couple of matches. to change the sound of this thing, and
Mhm.
or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like you're going to find that right place that matches your energy, because I feel like this is a great time where you have really creative thinkers. I think, Gary Lamb said something recently, which I completely disagreed with, but as he's wont to do, it inspires my thinking at least, is
Mhm.
because they were talking about, well, who's the number one promotion now? And he goes, even on cruise control, it's Southern Honor. And it's, as usual with Gary, I just go like, nobody wants a league on cruise control.
Right.
Even if Gary said was 100% correct, you can't be number one on cruise control, because it's just like, I mean, it's clear, it's coastal, right? And I know Bryce listens to this, especially. Like, I would challenge them, just like, find something to do with Shaloncé that isn't. I mean, yes, we could do injury angles, and that's good, but you could tell I have no interest in old Pat wrestling angles. I'm all about fucking crazy. If Larry's had to listen to my ideas for Next Level for like months, and they're all wackadoo, but they're also I think amazing, right? Like,
I can vouch for both those things.
But that's what's needed. It's like, I just get disappointed because these promoters only scratch the surface. And I feel like they put so much responsibility on the wrestler when it's really on the promoter and the booker, depending, because some places the booker and the promoter is the same person. Some people, they have a separate promoter and a booker. But like, the booker can write and figure out what you see in this wrestler. Because sometimes, especially the new ones, they don't know what it's like to be on the other side of them. They don't know what they look like. They're probably not even watching themselves. Most people are cringe with watching themselves, and need someone, usually a trainer, but need someone to see and point out, oh, did you know you do this? Or why don't you try this? Like, being a booker and promoter doesn't just mean you just run a show. You're now a mentor in a way.
Shaloncé, I have a question for you that I already know the answer to. Have you ever agented a match before?
Yes.
Yeah. That's exactly how I would bring you in, if nothing else. I would let Shaloncé agent match, and not just the women. Like, it's amazing, right? We're supposed to be so progressive and advanced in thinking, and yet the first thing that people probably thought when I said that was, yeah, she could agent the women's. Why?
Yep.
Why can't she? In fact, your perspective on the men's matches would probably be much more interesting and new, because you would see things in a completely different way, and your experiences are slightly different as a woman wrestler, so you'd be able to hit it at a different angle and help the guys out. And I know you'd be able to command respect. You're used to being a project manager. Like, I think people are sleeping on the leadership aspects that you can bring. Yeah. And I think just labeling you a wrestler is really like downplaying it. I would just have you there just to agent, just because I always wanted a female presence of authority at PCW, whether it's the person running Gorilla or whatever, because it's good for the guys to be around that kind of different thinking and energy to me. As I never wanted a sausage party, because that's almost every indie show I ever worked. And gross. I don't want that. Plus it's just a better vibe when you've got good looking women around. Like, I don't know, the place feels lighter. It feels better. Yes. Show me a nightclub with no women, and I'll show you a nightclub that goes out of business. And I believe that applies to everything, especially and including pro wrestling.
I agree. I think it just shocks me of how blind people are to things. Like, if you walk in as a wrestler, they just assume that you don't know anything. I'm like, I have a whole outside life. I lived a whole life before I even came to wrestling. And just because people may not like what I say doesn't mean that it's wrong. But like, I don't know if you guys watched the show Now That's Wrestling. When I announced it not a couple of weeks ago, but it's been a few weeks ago, I think the 31st of March. And I was proud and not proud at the same time. I was proud that Corey's vision, he's gotten a show on a network, he's learning how to do business, and these guys that just thought that they were just going to be stuck at whatever training facility or whatever, because some of these guys don't get booked in other places. They never thought they'll be able to be in the atmosphere and the arenas and the wrestling rings that they were in. So I was so happy and so proud of that opportunity. I was just very disappointed because when you have a show, you have a network investing in it. All these matches need legit agents. You can't just expect the person that is the vet in it to know exactly what to do. Because
absolutely correct.
Were so many moves and not connecting with the people that were there and not working camera angles. Some of the guys were, because you can tell like that they were trying, but it was just move after move and no one's selling and nothing's happening and people aren't understanding their role on the card. Like, you know, you're having a main event match, match 2, you know, like, are you coming back from intermission show and it's so lackluster when I'm like, you got to get the people back in, you know, and everyone wants to have that 5-star match and no one's communicating. And it was just, I'm like, where do you go? You did 7,000 moves in this match. This is the first time you're facing this opponent. If you want a storyline, where do you go from here? Because not everyone's good at talking. Not everyone is going to get talking time. So what are you going to talk about? No, not everyone's going to get that promo time where they're filming outside of the ring.
Yeah.
So where do you go to keep people interested? Because now you're forcing the network and the booker, your friend, to, if they're saying like, well, this is stagnant, you didn't protect yourself. So now they got to bring in someone else and hope to get fresh eyes. Like all that people aren't thinking about.
You should be at shows agenting, helping bookers. And again, it's going to require brave thought. It's going to require men to supplement their egos, to sublimate their egos. And we know that's a difficult task, but I mean, I keep this book around me, The Medici Effect, for a reason. And my kids, God help them, there's 3 books I'm going to force them to read in the next 2 months. And one of them's this book, which is, I mean, it's the ability to bring in knowledge outside of the field at which you are working in order to create creativity and innovation. That's the basic premise.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
So you as a project manager, you as a singer, all of these things lend themselves towards, because everything you're saying right now from a pro wrestling perspective is right on the money.
Thank you.
But it's your take on these things that will be unique and maybe the right thing that people need to hear where it's going to connect. Like when I asked Chad Skywalker, what's the way that you know WWA4 maybe let you down a little bit where you had to learn it somewhere else? To me, it was the most fundamental thing that you're supposed to fucking know coming out of wrestling school, which is, what the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And that's always been my knock against the A4. These guys all come out and they're all the fucking same.
Yeah.
I would never begrudge them. Yeah, they're able to pull off spots and all that kind of stuff, and they have the general camaraderie and shit, but they don't know, they wrestle great, but they're not great wrestlers.
Yes.
And there's a fundamental difference between those two things. And I think you can elevate because you've made the transition somewhere along the way. And I just can't emphasize the importance of person of color, a woman. These are the voices that are needed, right? Rose Gold's lucky to have you. And Jade Cargill wishes that she did, even though she doesn't know it. When I was talking about people that Jade Cargill should be, when Chad had that great idea of like, I feel like she should go to the indies and she should learn from women's. The first person I thought of was you. I was just like, fuck, let's get Shaloncé on here now. Because it's just like, Jade Cargill could learn more from you because you wouldn't teach her how to do a higher kick. It does drive me crazy that she does a pump kick and the bitch is 94 feet tall and she can never hit anybody in the fucking face. That drives me fucking bonkers. But it's like transitions. And she catches Naomi and she doesn't say anything. So I walked the guys through that part of the match, and I was like, here's what I would do. And, I caught the little dude off of the chair, and I was like, ready for takeoff, bitch? And I fucking mimed like I was going to do the throwaway slam that she did. And all the guys popped. And I'm like, Jade doesn't say a word the entire match. You know what else? 90% of the WWE people don't say a word during their match.
Yeah, that's true.
What the fuck happened to pro wrestling?
Yeah.
Like,
can you believe
and
it
this
that
is
Jade,
Triple H and Shawn Michaels, but they've all forgotten, like, why are none of these people performing? They're so overwhelmed that they're at WrestleMania that they're not doing their job.
Yeah.
They're not interacting with the crowd. They're committing all of the same sins as the indies. They're relying on spots and moments to get a pop instead of they're getting the pop. They're relying on match mechanics instead of emotional. Strangely, that's why I think Logan Paul does so well, because there's a part of him that fundamentally understands as a performer how to like get people to react to what he's doing. Like he and AJ in the back worked out, I'm going to give you the Styles Clash and then you give it to me right back. And I bet you AJ went, it doesn't make sense. But Logan Paul understood, nah, they're going to hate me doing your move to you. When you give it back to me, they'll lose their mind. Like he understands on a fundamental, people hate me, fuck you level that I'm afraid most of the wrestlers don't get anymore. That's the reason he does as good as he does.
Everyone wants to be liked. Everyone wants to get their spots in. Everyone wants to feel like they look good. They want to feel like they're better than they are. They want their moments. And then they want to get everything in. So if they're told they got 6 minutes, they're going to do all the things that they can do in 6 minutes rather than try to figure out, hey, where's a character moment? Where's a moment that you can make people feel like? We have to remember that originally the ideal of a wrestler was someone that the average Joe could not be or wanted to be or wanted to sleep with or wanted to have. So people go to the movies and watch these superhero movies that we all know or some of us believe that they might be true, but we all know that they're movies, and they will pop when they have a catchphrase or a line or something, because in real life, sometimes we wish we can say that very thing. With the boom of the internet, memes and whatnot, people do this junk all the time. So why not translate that into the ring? If that makes any sense, like have your moment, say your catchphrase, because that's what made stars. That's why a lot of us was drawn to wrestling back in the day. But now stars aren't being made. Athletes are just being reveled. Moves are just being worshipped. Like I read on, I think it was Cage Match I recently went to, and someone left a comment rather recently. And I guess they were complimenting my gimmick and whatnot, that it was funny and interesting. But there was like, the wrestling leaves much to be desired, or the wrestling's not that great, or something like that. And I'm like, I made these people look like a freaking star and got you either to dislike me or to laugh or to hate me. But you remember my gimmick. You remembered what I did. You remember how I made you feel. And I let my opponent do all the flippy junk and whatnot. But that doesn't mean that I can't. But why should I? I can sing and do a move at the same time and come back. I can do a 30-minute match and still be able to sing. I don't know what happened to my cardio and why it was that great, but I could still do it. And I proved it before. But
Shaloncé, so who's an exception to the problems you just listed? Being too cool, wanting to be liked, wanting to get their shit in. Who do you think of in the scene who is an exception to that? Anybody?
I'm sure there are. I have to be honest. I haven't really paid attention to the scene in a while because, again, I got injured and I was shoved for a minute. I didn't want to look at wrestling. I didn't want to breathe it. I just wanted to think I was somebody else and something else. And it wasn't until I went to Change The most recent change was the first show I had been to and looked at since the injury.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, so I didn't watch I didn't watch Raw, SmackDown, AEW, Ring of Honor. I saw clips. I feel like Haley J, like if I can go by what I remember, Haley J gets it. She's still young, and there's some things that has to connect because the lack thereof of certain experiences that I've gone through that she hasn't had to go through yet. But I just remember talking with her, and she was also the one that was like, man, people are sleeping on you. And she was like, Shalondra's it. Like, she vouches for me. She knows. And I think she fits that. She doesn't care about getting a whole bunch of movies. She wants to make a moment. She wants to tell a story. And she happens to have a really good gimmick that's working for her now. And I say now because, at one point, everybody wanted the counselor. So,
right.
But people are sleeping on Haley, I know the Netflix kind of like propelled her into the forefront of a lot of people's minds now, but she has it. And if she can keep going, she's going to be great. Like, people need to
who I think you're comparable to is, I always think like Amber Nova, who's somebody
really?
I go like, yeah.
I don't know much about Amber.
Like everything's there, yet it doesn't happen.
Right.
And the reason I thought of Amber Nova as well is because she's wrestling Haley J in this like big deal match for this promotion, like loser leaves the state, and all this kind of stuff. And I went, the problem with that match is I know Amber Nova's going to lose. Because because it always seems like that's how she gets booked. And it's like, and when she and I talk, the problem with this class thing I'm doing is the people who are taking it are the people that least need it. Right? Like for the most part, it's except for that girl that I'm teaching, who I'm like, boy, she was just like, oh my God, because I just wanted to teach her, because she doesn't really know me from Adam, right? So it's like, I want you to send a message that says exactly that to this promoter and see if they don't book you, even though you haven't had a wrestling match. So she sent the right picture that I told her to send, and she got booked. She's never had a match before. Because I'm like, I can teach you that shit. That's easy, right? I just want to make sure by the time you start wrestling that you understand what the fuck you're doing. And it's not even about the physical stuff. It's just about how you carry yourself, how you don't get pigeonholed. Pro wrestling and being in a promotion, I'm going to say something brilliant that you may never have heard before. It's like being in a fucking romantic relationship. And if you get pigeonholed in the friend zone, which in wrestling is being the good hand, you never get out of the friend zone. That's why injuries matter too, because injuries let you recreate yourself, right? You get to go and have a glow up. And I hope this is, I was going to say, right? And not just to glow up in how you look wonderful, but like in the mind and the perception. Yeah. Perception matters. A bunch of years ago, Ace Haven was the joke who was just getting by on being his daddy's promotion. And now he got himself to the point where people were like, oh, yeah, that's the hot booker to get. Josh Fields was so smart to get him. That's a transition, because there was a time where people could not stand Ace Haven.
That's something important to note, too. I meant to touch on that earlier. Like, I wish these young people would, I say young people like I'm just old, but I mean like the new kids in the business or even like my peers, is that resets are good. And I learned that perceptions can change. Like nothing's like permanent. Like cancel culture, to somebody, someone's canceled, and then to someone else, they're just like, I'm still gonna listen to their music, I'm still gonna buy their stuff, and then next thing you know, they disappear and they come back and they've done rehab and they did all this stuff and they're just living their life and going great. Like, or in wrestling, there are people that I'm sure there's some people that got counted out or got blackballed or something in a way, and then now everybody wants them on their show, or now
Hakeem,
they just,
right? Like those guys are out there. You know who I wish I could counsel right now, who could make the biggest impact in Georgia wrestling if you gave me 6 months to work with him? Larry Lazard. If I could get a hold of that dude, the transformation in that guy, because it would not only be a quote unquote gimmick transformation, it'd be a real one. Because he needs mentoring, but he needs a lifestyle mentoring.
Yes.
Right. He needs an overall mentoring. But he has something that, I mean, people always hate it when I say like Larry Lazard's got something, because he has sort of an inborn ability to get around your intellectual and get to your emotional. Now, right now it's all negative.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a rare talent, the ability to hit people's emotional centers and provoke. That's like there's a part of that you can't really teach. And he just sort of has this inborn, like he's the balance of like arrogance and also insecure that unfortunately makes for a great performer sometimes if they're in the proper spot.
If he could harness it, someone could harness it.
Right. And I tell people to look at like Skrilla. When I first met Skrilla, we met in backyard wrestling, and
oh my God,
we did. I'm admit it. We met in backyard wrestling. He had been doing it for a while, so I was the new girl, and we were talking about angles and story. Like I could tell he had something then, but he didn't have his life together then. And then, or he was just existing. He wasn't living. Let's just say that. I don't know all his business, and then I went to train and started with the indies and whatnot, and then eventually Skrilla came. But I don't know if you guys remember, he did not have the best reputation because he would no-show shows. People didn't want to work with him. They were claiming he wasn't professional, things like that. And you wouldn't, like, if people wouldn't believe me if I said that to a lot of people now, because look at him. He got it together. He's challenging people. I don't know everybody's perspective on him, but I know the change that I've seen in him. And that's what makes me want to bet on him and push him and encourage him, and to tell people, don't get down on what you think people think you are. You need to remember who you are. You need to remember what you're trying to work towards, because no one's perfect. And just go for it. Just go for it. And going back to the injury, that's what I'm telling myself. It's like, just go for it. Like months and months and months ago, I don't think I would have been able to speak this confidently about all the things that I know that I can do. But I've been faced with it, like even with like the outside jobs. Like I know I have great creative. I know that I can, like, again, project manage. That comes with a special set of skills and whatnot, and teach. Like I'm going to be a director of music. Like that takes patience and that takes something. And so like I had to sit back to realize what I offer, realize that change can happen, and that the average person is not rooting against you. I felt for a while that there were people, not everyone, but I felt for a while that there were just people who didn't care whether or not I won and didn't care about me. And I wanted so badly to be appreciated and cared for. And I had given up everything for wrestling. Like I lost my apartment, my car, a lot of things for wrestling. And I just wanted to be seen and heard. And now I'm like, I don't care who sees and hear me. I have a mirror. I obviously hear myself talk, and people will see me. And you know what? Those are casual sacrifices that will be put in a chapter of my life, but my story is not done. And I'm proud of that.
I know we've been going for a very long time.
Oh, wow,
let me tell this brief wrestling story, because I think it applies to Shaloncé and maybe quite a few other wrestlers that are listening to this. So at one point, Sergeant Slaughter, before he was the Sergeant Slaughter we all know and love, he was just a guy wrestling in the Charlotte area who wanted to make some fucking money. And it wasn't happening for him. And it surely wasn't happening for Don fucking Kernodle, right? So what he did was he took a spiral notebook and he just started writing down ideas. And those ideas became Sergeant Slaughter and Kernodle against Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood, which broke open for all of their careers. They ended up having lines around the block, a sold-out arena, who were there to see a lot of things, but they were really there. The emotional center of that show was around Sergeant Slaughter and Don Kernodle, and the fact that they had jumped Jay Youngblood and Ricky Steamboat and bloodied them and blah, blah, blah. And they mapped out how this angle was going to go and build and build and build. But his vision was, and his incentive was simple. I want to get paid. I want to make this fucking main event money these other motherfuckers are making. And I know I got the stuff. And so they laid out the angle, and the promoters ultimately went, this is money. We're going to make money on this shit. And so they let them do it, and everybody benefited, and all their careers advanced and all of that stuff. They started seeing Ricky Steamboat as like, my God, who's better at getting beat up and beat down than that guy as a babyface? And look where that took him, right?
Right.
I would say you and Rose Gold, Georgia wrestling has been full of women that got married to each other and helped each other's career tremendously. Whether it was Pandora and Aisha, now known as Whoa, right? Whether it was, Kiera Hogan and Priscilla Kelly.
Yeah,
like,
true.
Rose Gold needs you. She needs you. She can win Woman of the Year 5 million fucking times. It doesn't matter, right? She needs somebody who's more experienced and who's smart and who she can sit down with. I say both of you get a fucking spiral notebook and write some shit down. These Georgia promotions need you guys. They need a woman angle that matters, that can go over multiple promotions.
That's
right?
what I want. Yes.
A rivalry that feels real and is cool, and then the matches pay off. And you can bring her ring stuff up, but fuck, you deserve to be the star too. There's a reason Sergeant Slaughter came up with this shit and piloted this shit, and then he ended up having the biggest career out of all four. I would argue that he had a bigger career than Ricky Steamboat in many ways. So, like, I think you're smart enough to do it. I think it's a good way to show how creative you are too. Come marry fucking Rose Gold and pitch it. And all these guys want women matches. Are from RIPW on. They all want it. So it's like, we're going to give you this, and it's going to be fucking great. And this is the angle that we can work out for you. I think it's a winner.
Thank you. I thank the both of you guys for like just believing in me and seeing past like the booking or the circumstances of some of the matches. Like, you guys I felt like have always seen me and given me my flowers while I'm here and been honest with me too. So I really value that in both you guys.
You're welcome. And folks, if you tuned into this show and didn't know a reason to book Shaloncé Royal, you sure do now. We gave about like 15 of them on this. During this
yes.
Shaloncé, where can we look forward to seeing you, or what's a way that we can see you right now? I mean, what's a thing we can watch on streaming, or what's the best way for people to get a hold of you and all that kind of good stuff?
Well, I am streaming on Twitch every Tuesday and Wednesday. Technically, my stream is going now, but because I only got one mic, it's used here. So I'm just redirecting them to come look here. And I do have some things in the works. I have some things in the works where people will be able to see me and whatnot. I am the ring announcer for Now That's Wrestling. And I am the general manager of the women's division at PCW. So nice. You'll see my face and hear my voice. Probably not in the ring because they don't deserve to be in the same place as me. I mean, like, why should I be there?
Damn.
But thank God for technology so they can see me there.
Nice. Larry, where are you going to be this weekend?
Probably Friday night at the Action Anniversary show, probably Sunday for Homegrown, and maybe I'll see Ethan Case there since he didn't show up tonight. This show. After requesting to be able to come on again before Homegrown. He no-showed us tonight.
Ooh.
So hopefully he shows up on Sunday.
Let's just hope he's okay.
Yes. Let us hope that.
Yes.
Tomorrow, I've been on this quest to set this speedrun world record in this one video game.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And tomorrow, a perfect eclipse in the lining up of the planets has happened where I am not at any job in the day or the night. None of my 4 jobs have me. Yay. So I'm attempting the speed run for the last time tomorrow because it takes like more than between 10 and 11 hours to try to pull this thing off. So
Jesus.
I've food prepped. I've done everything I can. I've practiced forever. So I think I'm going to pull it off tomorrow. I either pull it off or I got to just take that game and I'm smashing it with a hammer. So I won't play it anymore. But that's what I'm doing tomorrow.
Do you stream?
Good luck.
You stream your games?
I am going to stream it. I'm going to attempt to. The problem has been like an equipment thing, but I think I got that figured out. So I'll stream it. I'll probably Facebook Live it. Okay. I might do through my YouTube channel. I'll definitely let people know. And Good. Then and this training thing, I thought maybe 1 or 2 people would take me up on it, but I currently have, I guess officially I have 5 students. So that's been on these one-on-one classes. 3 of them are actually doing the booking classes. And so I'm supposed to get homework assignments back. 2 of them this week, and then 1 of them is doing it once a month. So I'll be very curious. You know what I told them to do for homework for the booking class? Larry or Shaloncé, do you remember Brachus? Does that name ring a bell?
No.
Yes.
Brachus was this German bodybuilder. Shaloncé, look up Brachus online. He looked like he was the most frightening, like he was the epitome of sort of the roid era in wrestling. The WWF signed him just based on his look and nothing else. They were just like, oh my God, this looks like the scariest muscle-bound dude in the world. But they couldn't do anything with him because he was so clumsy and untalented. So they sent him to Paul Heyman at ECW and said, Paul, find a way to book this guy. Because Paul was considered like sort of the wizard of the time. He could take anything and make it work, right? But even the great Paul Heyman could not think of what to do with this fuck. So he had him as a bodyguard for a while, and then finally he just let Taz destroy him because he's just like, Brachus is unbookable. And that was the end of Brachus. So my homework challenge was, you're given Brachus and you can book him anywhere and do anything. How do you get Brachus over? And so we don't think small in Stephen Platinum booking training. That's for sure.
Oops, see, I already got it. I already got it in my head.
What?
I already know what I would do. Mm-hmm.
What would you do? Real quick before we go, what would you do with Brachus?
Well, so what I would do is kind of like start out as basic like bodyguard, just there, right? Follow me if you can hear. And then eventually, I'll like treat him well. And speaking as Shaloncé's bodyguard, somebody that treat him well, and then pull at people's heartstrings by like really talking horrible to him. And then not, the stereotypical making people like, really? Why are you doing this to him? He's just there. He doesn't say anything. He does everything that you tell him to do.
You're talking shit to Brachus? Oh, I love it. Okay.
Yes. Because I'm like, for some reason, he listens to this 5'0" girl. But for whatever reason, why he wants to listen to me, I just start talking trash and get people to kind of, I'm taking the heat. And people like, no, he's whatever. So then I would kind of book kind of like an antithesis of mine, and then maybe they try to get them a muscle person or something. So now I'm trying to get their person, and I'm like downloading everything. So now people are like, so and you're trying to replace him, but he's done nothing to you. So to get the match together so that people would actually want to see him wrestle.
Yeah.
Maybe something with me in this antithesis. I'm telling him he has to be my tag partner. Otherwise, we can't have this happen. So I'm telling him, like, this is what we're going to do. You're going to do A, B, C, or D. And then I'm trying to get him to tag in. but I slap him to tag him in or something. And he doesn't do, he stands there, he takes it, just the camera got to zoom in and see the expression and everything. And the people see it, it looks like something's growing. And obviously he's not finna hit me, but it might be very questionable whether he will. But obviously I'm going to lose the match because I'm not paying attention to what's happening behind me.
Yeah.
And something happens and the girl gets me, whatever. So now it looks like Brackus might be starting to have sort of a backbone now. And now I just cut this horrific promo, tearing him apart, saying that he's worthless. And then that's all I got so far.
No. Promotions bring her in. She did that in 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
Where's Brackus? Where are you at, Brackus?
Where you at, Brackus? Man, I got motivated. I saw his picture and I was like, oh.
Dude, scary, right?
He was so beefy. Oh
in any case, thank you to Shaloncé. Thank you, Chad Skywalker. Ethan Case, you no-showed us, but I hope you're all right. For Larry Goodman, I'm Stephen Platinum. This has been The Tipping. Thank you.